Okay, everyone. Welcome to the Monday webinar. This is our look into what's going on next week and what to expect, or excuse me, this week, and what's going to be looking for, and a few things to watch out for, a few things to be really careful of, a few things to be aggressive with, so on and so on. And we're definitely going to talk about some of my favorite setups and kind of, the best looking things that I think I want to trade this week. Excuse me. So we're going to dig into all of that. So welcome once again. As I was mentioning earlier, the website is basically down. It's open for me right here. This was after 10 times and waiting for 5 minutes or more. It finally opens. But anyway, there's some problems. It's intermittent. It's down and up and down. And so anyways, this will all be posted and everybody will get a chance to see all of this if you weren't able to attend live. So anyways, let's get down to the details. Again, having some fun little problems here. We'll see if I can scroll around and do a few things on my own website here. Just a reminder, you can click right there. Oh, there we go. That was pretty quick. You can click right there, and that'll take you to the page where you can get a free trial. So you can get a free trial to the actual live trade room, which is the $79 a month deal, or you can get a free trial to just website access where you can see all the trades and do all of that stuff. And remember, you can get a pretty good deal with an annual membership. Okay, Adrian, it's working on your end? Good. All right. It's been super up and down all day long today. I haven't been able to access most things on here for most of the day, but hopefully it's getting worked out now. So anyways, that's where you can get all set up and join us for some membership activity. Remember, we've done some little upgrades in the trades section here, so you can see some things that are posted. You can also watch a little video explanation. Watch here, which will tell you a little bit about how that section works. But that is that's for our members. So have a look in there, have a peek around. Let me know if anybody has any questions. And we'd love to have you join us for a free trial this week. So just go to daytradersfx.com and get plugged in there. So quick little look. It's going to be an interesting week for a couple of reasons. Number one, we have a lot of pretty important news scheduled to be released throughout the entire week, starting off with CPI numbers for the U.S., home sales for the U.S. We have CPI numbers for Australia. We follow that up with the bank rate vote from the U.K., and Carney will be speaking. And every time he speaks, something crazy happens. They're going to have to change his name to Carnage from Carney, but anyway, he'll be causing some ruckus on Wednesday. Thursday we have more U.S., U.K. retail sales is always a big one for the U.K. We have some German and French PMI numbers, some more U.S. and New Zealand numbers. It just kind of keeps going and going, and then going into Friday, German IFO, GDP numbers for the U.K., durable goods for the U.S. So it's not a crazy news week, but it's big enough that we've got enough activity this week to make sure things move. But it's not excessive that that trading should be super tricky. As far as this news goes, now of course a lot of the GBP pairs, pound pairs, we're going to be really cautious about the Carney speech and all of that stuff. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. But the other kind of crazy situation that we have going on is just everything that's happening in Russia and the Ukraine and all of that. Not to mention we have a lot of crazy things going on in Israel and so on. And there's just enough international turmoil that the currency markets seem to be holding fairly steady, but we have to be aware and we have to be ready for some crazy things to happen. Now remember, we're looking at a lot of pairs that we have some pretty interesting setups that are super overbought and super oversold. And remember, most of the time the big reversals and the big corrections are signaled to us by technical setups, particularly our setup that we look for, which we have some really good setups on some long-term charts. So we kind of get a little pre-warning with those technical setups, and then we oftentimes will see news kind of really kick that movement into high gear. So anyway, the news this week again is a little bit crazy, a little bit nuts. We're seeing some pretty tough talk from some governments about things that are happening. Obviously, everyone's heard about the flight, that Malaysian flight that was shot down over the Ukraine, and that's turning into a mess. And it's just, anyways, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on over there that could definitely spill into the global economies, depending on how things escalate, or if they escalate, or if they don't. It'll all depend. Rob and I had an interesting discussion last night. I think Thursday night, or Sunday night, excuse me. And we talked about how the Swiss franc really likes to move around, especially when there's some dangerous stuff going on in Europe and in that kind of neck of the woods. The dollar is typically a semi-safe haven currency, but definitely the Swiss franc is as well. Absolutely, positively, the Swiss franc is. And so anything long Swiss franc is looking like a pretty good idea this week, and we have a couple of those setups in the works, and we're going to talk about them in just a moment. But remember, buying Swiss franc against a couple of these other pairs is looking like it's going to be a pretty good idea. So let's get down to those real quick. I just want to kind of preface this euro dollar right here. If we see a big run towards Swiss franc strength, remember most Swiss franc pairs are, particularly dollar Swiss franc and euro dollar, move fairly opposite of each other. Most of the time they move pretty opposite of each other. There's not too many occasions where one moves big and the other just doesn't, although it does happen. And so if we see some big runs down, for example, on dollar Swiss franc and pound Swiss franc and CAD Swiss franc and so on, chances are pretty good that we're going to see the euro rally just a little bit, which would be kind of interesting. So we'll see how that one goes. So far, the euro dollar is just kind of it's setting up for a couple of things, and it's looking kind of interesting. We had a nice little double bottom here, which could also be a little bit of a neckline of a little kind of ugly, choppy head and shoulders pattern right here that's in the works. And so that 13500, getting below 13500, makes me really bearish euro dollar, and a daily open below that level, and I would start shorting the euro dollar pretty good. I'd say I'd start shorting it pretty darn good. But right now it seems to be holding that level pretty well. We've got a couple of missed daily, weekly, and monthly pivots up above, and so it is still a bit of a candidate for some upward movement. We saw a nice little dip and some bottoming out and a nice little hammer here testing that low, and then it just seems to be holding that 135 pretty well. So there might be a nice opportunity to short-term buy euro dollar, but I wouldn't be looking for a huge movement just yet, of course, unless we see a really big reaction on Swiss franc pairs. But I think there's some little buying opportunities on euro dollar here, with stops below 13500, just a little bit below 13500. You can see we're at 135.25, and some profit targets of 13600 and so on. But we start getting daily opens below 13500, and we should be short euro dollar at that point. So I don't necessarily know which way it's going to go, but I know I know what the crucial level is right now, and that is 13500. So above it, we should be looking to stay cautiously long, and below that level, we should get semi-aggressive short with euro dollar. Okay, so that's my euro dollar spiel. Pound dollar, we've been watching this pound dollar super close, and it's been in this continual upward movement, up, and then it retraces a little bit, and then it's up again, and now it's kind of back down to the bottom of this channel of the last couple of weeks. Now the pound dollar still has not touched the 200 moving average, although it's gotten pretty darn close. It's now technically speaking, we are about 173 bars out on the 4-hour chart from touching that 200 moving average. So make no mistake about it, my outlook right now, unless something super crazy happens with Carney's speech on Wednesday, and that could definitely happen, we should be selling rallies on pound dollar. Selling rallies. Every time this thing rallies, let's sell the rally. and look to start trading this pair back down. Now, it may look like there's some sort of big, huge missed opportunity here. We look at the 1 hour chart and we say, oh, it's been sideways, and that was the big move down. From that peak up to right here is over 100 pips. But keep in mind, it's kind of just sideways chop for right now. And has been for the entire month of July. It's been just totally sideways all month, and it's towards the bottom of that range. But you can see on this daily chart that it has just started opening outside of that rising wedge. And so this is why we need to be very aggressively selling rallies. And I'll have more specific entries on here for group members as the week progresses on. But we should be selling these rallies right now, and especially if it breaks this 171.80 area, then we should just keep on selling those rallies there as well, because we still have a very, very overextended daily chart that is so due for a massive correction that it's ridiculous. So this daily chart is just ready to rock and roll. We're open below the rising wedge, and as it rallies up, you can see that trend line a little bit better right here as it rallies up into some of these areas, 171.25, 171.15, right in those areas. Those are really good hot spots for selling this rally with stops above these highs. And so on. So I love selling rallies on pound dollar. Just keep that in mind. Targets should be 170 minimum. 169.00 is a really good safe one as well. Remember 169.00. We have a couple. We have a nice little missed pivot down here. Weekly pivot at 169.00. We have a monthly pivot at 169.75. So some great levels down there. Sell the rally on pound dollar. Our dollar CAD is still going sideways. We're kind of just waiting this one out as well. We have this nice little rising wedge right here, or excuse me, falling wedge, which is almost a channel, but it's narrowing as it goes. I still stand by the fact that daily opens above 108.15, and I'm super bullish and I'm super long dollar CAD up into 109.00, 110. In that general area, and that's kind of all I have to say about the dollar CAD right now. So I don't think I'm going to mess around in the chop too much, because the dollar CAD will get you in that chop and can get pretty messy and pretty expensive. But if it does get above 108.15, then I'm pretty excited about being long dollar CAD and letting that pair ride out. Okay. One little quick thing to mention about Euro Aussie is it looks like we have a nice little double bottom in the works. We have a nice missed weekly pivot up here, and we have a falling wedge that the market has broken out of and somehow barely maintained its position above that falling wedge. So I'm still liking this one. If it starts getting below 143.50, 60 area, then it starts getting really bearish. But so far it seems to be holding pretty well. So just keep an eye on that long above 143.50. But I don't have a specific trade here. It's just something I wanted to mention to everyone. Okay, so back to the theme of being long Canadian, or excuse me, Swiss franc, being long Swiss franc, which would be a sell trade on the CAD Swiss franc, and a sell trade on pound Swiss franc, and a sell trade on dollar Swiss franc. If we're going to be long Swiss franc against a couple of the counterparts, the CAD Swiss franc has a pretty nice trade. Here is a rising wedge as well that has broken out and retraced and seems to be holding below this level here as well. Currently we are 60, just a measly 60 pips from the high of the last several months. I don't know how far that goes back. That's almost the high of the year, although we had this huge bearish engulfing reversal right at the beginning of the year. But you know, since that candle, since the second week of 2014, the CAD Swiss franc is at those highs, and it's looking pretty good. So I do like the bearish side of this. I do like Swiss franc strength against the Canadian dollar, and stops above 84.15.20 area So there's really a nice opportunity for some tight stops there, and I do like some shorts against that. But again, just be cautious this week. This week is a lot of news. There's a lot of international potential craziness that could go down. So we just have to be real careful on these situations. Try to, it's a little hard to know which pairs are going to move the best. We did talk about the fact that the Swiss franc should be a good, safe one to try to trade strength in, and so that could be a pretty good one. And always the idea is to just find the best setup, the one that is technically the best, a nice clean price pattern breakout, has a good missed weekly pivot in there to target, all of that stuff, and is close to major levels so we can keep stops fairly tight. All of that stuff is super good to keep in mind, especially for a lot of these Swiss franc pairs. So CAD Swiss franc looks pretty good, but just keep in mind those levels: 84.20 high, and shorting against that, and so on. So looks like a nice little setup. Everything looks pretty good so far there. Again, if we're looking to be long Swiss franc, the dollar Swiss franc's not looking amazing. It's kind of a mess, but it's worth keeping an eye on. That's probably the least favorite of the Swiss franc pairs to trade this week. I like CAD Swiss franc a lot, and I like pound Swiss franc a lot. So we're going to talk about both of those. And speaking of the pound Swiss franc, so we have a pending order on this one, which has not yet been filled. I'm just flipping over to the pending order here. We're looking for that 153.70-80 zone, and now that's 50 or so pips away, 40 to 50 pips away, and this is not a missed opportunity either. The pound Swiss franc is such a good setup. It's just so great. Remember, we go all the way back here. This is a 4-hour chart. We go all the way back here, and we see that the pound Swiss franc is 325 bars out from the 200 moving average on a 4-hour chart. The only other time you're going to see that, surprisingly, is on the euro pound right now, and there's not too many other pairs that will move 300 plus bars away from the 200 moving average without pretty fierce reversals. And so pound Swiss franc is a huge favorite to, again, sell rallies. So pound dollar, I want to sell the rally on pound dollar, and I want to sell the rally on pound Swiss franc like crazy. We've already got a pending order there. We are currently, from the high here, about 75 pips. That's not a lot. That's definitely not a lot. We're still very well within this rising wedge on the daily chart. We've got some great targets. I think 150 is a fantastic target. That's going to put us into contact with the 200 moving average and so on. I think there's a solid 300 pips to be watching for on pound Swiss franc over the next several days to a couple of weeks. This will be a slightly longer term trade, even though we're not going to get probably 1,000 pips out of it, or 800 pips. There will be a couple hundred pips to make there, 200 to 300 pips, maybe 400 pips, and it will probably take a couple of weeks to play out. We'll probably sit in the trade for a few weeks, which is, of course, fine with me. And so right now, just remember, we are absolutely selling the rally on pound Swiss franc. That high there is just above 15400. 154.05 I think is that high. 154.03 actually. So selling any rallies on this pair with stops above that high is my favorite, probably one of my favorite trades for this week. Pound Swiss franc. Selling those rallies, and like I said, we're only 70 or so pips away from the high right now, 75 pips. So 30 and 40 pip rallies go a long ways to minimizing our exposure to big stop outs and so on this pound Swiss franc, and targeting. And remember, we're going to be targeting some of these nice lower levels, 150-200, 150-150 as near-term targets, and 150 as kind of a more longer term target, which I think is going to be easy to hit. So remember, sell rallies pound dollar, sell rallies pound Swiss franc. Those are super great. We have an order actually that filled on euro pound. I don't know if everyone in the group got into this or not, because it just dipped down enough to fill the high end of the orders. But but it's okay because it's only a couple of pips away from our entry zone. And I think it's going to make a nice little pull back. I think we're going to have another opportunity on this euro pound, and I love this pair. My two favorite pairs this week by far are pound Swiss franc and euro pound. These are my two favorite pairs, and these are the two that we're going to be the most aggressive with trying to get into this week. So they should be super exciting. Euro pound is looking really great. We have a pretty big run down and a pullback. We have this nice pullback right here. And if this, so remember the 4-hour chart on pound Swiss franc looks just like the 4-hour chart on euro pound. Both of these are pretty much the same thing, just in reverse directions. And you can see that we are also about 325 bars out on the 4-hour chart for euro pound. So what I'm looking for here is we're still well within this falling wedge right here. So what we're trying to do is get a better entry with tighter stops. And so I'm looking at definitely buying any dips. For anybody that's not in this trade, buy the dips. For those that are in the trade, let's let it ride. But we want to buy the dips on this pair. And just have stops down here below the lows of the current lows of last week, and we're only 33 pips off those lows. Now we have to keep in mind that there is a much bigger dip area here that could get us into it, and that's another 150 pips or so down there, and we'll see if we get there or not. But the way that the daily chart looks, which is over 100 bars out, and then the 4-hour chart, which is a bit over 300 bars out. This is something that I'm super good with getting long now and really trying to ride this sucker right on up. So loving this pair. Again, two biggest pairs to focus on, euro pound and pound Swiss franc this week. Sell rallies on pound Swiss franc, buy dips on euro pound. And keep in mind, on Wednesday we have Carney speaking, and he always, it's always craziness. So just be prepared for that. For members in the group and those that are following this trade in particular, we'll have some specifics posted as the news gets closer. But those are going to be some good pairs. But we also, once again, have some great opportunities on CAD Swiss franc, and we'll be doing everything we can to get short CAD Swiss franc this week, and likewise get short pound dollar this week. So I think we have some really great opportunities there. As far as some of these yen pairs go, I'm not too interested just yet. We're getting some interesting levels here on some of the euro yen and so on. And it seems to be, hanging out below some of these previous supports, which is good. But I don't have much of a setup on yen pairs just yet. So we're going to focus a lot of our energy on euro dollar, pound dollar, euro pound, pound Swiss franc, and then we're going to watch. We'll watch dollar CAD and CAD Swiss franc as well. So we've got 6 pairs that we're going to be focused on quite a bit this week, and we should be able to get a couple of pretty big trades out of all those pairs that we're watching. So I'm looking forward to it. It should be an exciting week. We have lots of news to get things moving, and we have lots of big question marks going on with the international climate right now as well, which will keep things interesting. So more updates coming. If you'd like to see us kind of trade all of this day to day throughout the week, you can get a free trial once again at daytradersfx.com. We'd love to have you join us this week. It would be lots of fun. And I will be updating the live trade group twice a day, as always. So we'll have 2 major updates posted every single day, live trading sessions and so on, which will be pretty necessary this week with how volatile things potentially could get. Okay, questions, comments, send them over. Let's hear what you guys have to say about all that, and let me know if I missed any pairs that I should have mentioned and didn't.